We're gonna talk about earthquakes? No, yeah, I thought you want to talk about baseball.
Where are you on the Astros sign stealing scandal and the resulting punishment?
I wasn't going to be answering no Astros questions today.
That's right, Rook. That's right, Rook.
Baseball's where I belong. I don't care what field. I love this team. I want to be here forever. I want to be the Padres forever. But baseball is what I always love.
Since we're in the moment, is there a more annoying sports phrase than "get in the hole"?
Oh, you're saying for this?
Yeah.
Oh. I was like, what are you talking about?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Caswell. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. It's a Tuesday, which means only one thing. AJ Cassavell is here to join us. He is in Miami. I know we're counting down the days, 9 days and counting, right until the trade deadline. AJ, as a beat writer, I know the fans love it. How much do you enjoy this time of year?
I hate it. It is my most read content, so it's important. So I understand, like, it's super interesting. The aspect that I hate of it is the fact that, like, I don't know what time of day any of this is going to happen. So I just sleep worse at this time of year than any other time of year. The trade deadline itself is awesome. Yeah. Like, it's super interesting. It's fun to discuss. It's fun to talk about. But I wake up at like 5 a.m. and I'm like, uh-oh, what did I miss? Whereas no other time of year is it like that. I can sleep in and feel okay. So long answer. The short answer is just it's awesome, but it's not great on my sleep schedule, and it's even worse when you have a little baby. So
I can only imagine. Maybe it's a good thing.
The best sleep of the year is that July 31st into August 1st one. That's when I just like turn off the phone, turn off the alarm, sleep for 10 hours, and then I usually like wake up the next day and like go for a run or go for a swim without my phone. It's the first time I'll have been able to do that in like a month and a half.
Do you agree? I mean, with some execs that they should push the trade deadline to later and not have it the exact same time as pretty much the draft? Like maybe mid-August? Does that just make sense?
I mean, I think the easier solution would be moving the draft a little earlier. Mm-hmm. I think mid-August makes sense. Like if you think about like what the trade deadline is, it's the same time on the calendar as it was. I think it's the same time on the calendar as it was when only 2 teams made the playoffs in each league. It's definitely the same time on the calendar as it was when 4 teams made the playoffs. So if you're looking for a balance of like teams buying and selling, like you should push it later. Yeah, I kind of like it exactly when it is, because it's this demarcation line, like 2 months to go. You got to figure out, you got to declare whether you're a buyer or a seller. Mm-hmm. And it does make those prices a little bit more expensive, which I think is probably good for the league, because you give some rebuilding teams a chance to reap some players in return. So I like it when it is. I think like if you're trying to spread it out farther from the draft, I would say move the draft earlier. But I also think that like there's no rule that says you can't be scouting the draft and also making trades. We've seen early July trades before too. It's just the way most front offices like to operate, and it's just the kind of the realities of the fact that now 6 teams make the playoffs, and 12 teams in each league, it feels like, are in contention at this point on the calendar, and will need to decide in the next 9 days whether they're buyers or sellers.
Before we move on, I want to go ahead and apologize for my mugshot background. I have people staying at my home this week. I'm using my nephew's Paw Patrol kitty table while sitting on the floor, so my setup is kind of strange right now. Hopefully no strange noises are going to emerge from my really weird background. Okay, you had the headline for Padres.com. Where did I put it? Built for the second half. Now, the Padres believe they are built for the second half. I know those were the words of Mike Shildt yesterday in postgame as they moved to 10 games over 500 for the first time since June 10th. The 100-game mark, 55 and 45. Why did the Padres feel that they so strongly that this team, as it's constructed, before even making any moves, are built for the second half?
Well, I think one of the reasons that went unsaid by the players and manager is that they're likely going to have moves and likely going to have some sort of reinforcement. I don't know what that is. They're also getting healthier in the rotation, and they've proven last year that they can play better down the stretch. And that's a thing that Mike Shildt really emphasizes. And we saw it last year. We've seen it with all of his teams in St. Louis. They've gotten better in the second half. There seems to be a style with Mike Shildt of like, weathering the long season and the highs and lows, not getting too high, not getting too low early in the season, because like what's important here is August and September and October. And so I would just say, I don't want to read too much into last year and just ascribe what happened last year to what this year's team is going to do. It's hard to go 43-20 down the stretch. And I would say it's unlikely that the Padres do it this year, because only one or two teams will get that hot down the stretch. But you can look at where the Padres are right now and agree with what Manny Machado said right before the All-Star break, which is that they played some of their worst baseball. They had that road trip in Toronto, and they had a couple other spells at home where they weren't hitting. They played some of their worst baseball and kind of came through it. And here they are with a pretty cushy wild card lead, with a chance to make a run at the NL West, with a chance to make a run at a home playoff series. And they haven't quite put everything together, and they haven't been healthy. Now, no one's healthy. Like, the Padres are basically as healthy a team as any team in baseball. They're still not healthy because they're still waiting for Michael King to come back.
Yeah.
But I think there's reasons to look at this and say, you add a guy at the deadline, you get Michael King back, you put it all together, and this should be a team that is pushing for a lot of the same things they pushed for last year.
Okay, and you mentioned that what Manny Machado had to say before they took off on this road trip. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually have that clip. It's right here. Give me 1 second.
You know what we have, I mean, I think, we've shown glimpses of it. We showed what we can do. We played our worst baseball, and, we survived, right? And we're still above, and we're still in, second, third place. We're in a walk-off spot, and we didn't play great baseball. So we know what we're capable of doing, and, we know what we're gonna do in the second half.
Okay, so right there, Manny Machado said we played our worst baseball. Now, right now, the Padres have the second lowest OPS in baseball, right? Only the White Sox have a worst OPS. Do they feel as though they can survive that, or is it?
You're talking about the 7 through 9 hitters, right?
The 7 through 9, yes.
Yes, and no, they can't survive that. And that's why that's their number one. That's why that's the number one goal at the trade deadline. The 7 through 9 hitters have been. I mean, Jake Cronenworth, now that he's fallen into that 7 spot, I think he's an ideal number 7 hitter. That's perfect. But 8 and 9 are just not good enough. And that means we've talked about this pretty much every week. We're kind of wondering when it's going to happen. Well, at this point, it's got to happen in the next 9 days.
Yeah.
I think like the obvious need is someone who can play left field, and then you can move Gavin Sheets to his first base DH spot. And then the second need, we've talked about them wanting to add 2 bats. The second need is you weigh like how much it costs to go out and get that catcher, how well you think you can assimilate that catcher into your pitching staff, what you think you're getting from your current catchers in terms of run prevention, because you're obviously not getting much offensively, but there's value in like what Randy Vasquez is doing is not solely a product of Randy Vasquez. I think you need to give guys like Martin Maldonado and Elias Diaz some credit for that. I don't think you need to give them all the credit for it. I think you need to be looking for a catcher, but you weigh the cost of that with the cost of adding a bench piece so that when the big spot comes up in the 6th inning and your catcher spot is due up, you're not pinch hitting with Trenton Brooks. You're pinch hitting with a bona fide weapon off the bench, which I think the Padres had last season when they had a guy like David Peralta or whoever was on the bench that day. If it was Donovan Solano against the lefty, like they had better options coming off the bench to fill those voids. Granted, they didn't need them as much last year because they had a more set starting lineup. But like that's what the Padres need to weigh is what they're getting from their catchers, the cost of finding a catcher versus do you look for a pinch hitter and probably get him for a lot cheaper, make a much easier acclimation period to the clubhouse, and he can fill that key at bat each night for whichever catcher is due up in a big spot.
AJ, I know we've had conversation over the past couple of weeks about the idea of the Padres being buyers and sellers, and they could try and move some salary from this current major league roster. I know they have a very attractive bullpen, one of the best bullpens in baseball, the 4 Horsemen. Just given how good they are, all right, and the number of innings they are asked to go ahead, they're relied upon, right? We saw it again last night with them coming through. Would you be shocked if they moved any of these guys? Why would you go ahead and take away from really what I think is the biggest strength of this team?
Yeah, I think I'm getting to the point where I would be shocked.
Okay.
Maybe very surprised. Like, obviously, Robert Suarez is at the end of his contract, and you're not going to get anything for him because I don't think he's going to be qualifying offer. Like, he's not going to be given that number or whatever it ends up being. So, like, he's likely going to opt out based on his performance. And as a result, the Padres are probably not going to qualify. So you lose him at the end of the year basically for nothing, or you have to re-sign him at a higher cost. So you can see kind of some of the logic in looking for that kind of trade, which I think they did in March. Now that you've gotten to July and he's at the back end of this bullpen, that is the strength of the Padres. And frankly, the reason they're winning a lot of these games. If you don't have the four horsemen, I don't know that you win last night's game. Like the fact that you can bring Adrian Morejon, who is an all-star, into a game in the fifth inning, and you're not completely burning your bullpen for the rest of the night. You're not going to have to find a spot for someone else in those innings because you're so deep in the bullpen. Like trading a guy from that, you don't win last night's game. So, and there's been, I don't know, 7 or 8 of these games, it feels like, in the last couple months where the Padres have a 1-run lead and you're kind of sitting there like, oh, are they going to add on to this lead? They probably should. And then they go to Adrian Morejon in the 5th, or they go to Jeremiah Estrada in the 6th. And it's, well, maybe they might just, it'd be obviously nice if they were to add on and give these guys some of a breather, but they have enough to win it that way. So I don't think you deal from the position of strength that you put yourself in right now. And there are options to trade within that bullpen, Suarez being one of them. I'm sure lots of teams would like him, but he's just become too integral to what the Padres are doing. And frankly, everyone in that bullpen loves him. They love turning the ball over to him and kind of his demeanor, his even keel. He kind of sets the tone. So I would be very surprised. Yes.
I would be shocked as well. And especially it's I mean, you have guys who have such important defined roles, but you're asking someone to go ahead and be in more of an unfamiliar situation, closing perhaps in a playoff game. So I don't know that you would move any of that. Who are some guys that might make sense off this major league roster if they were to go ahead and try to flip some salary?
The one we've talked about is Dylan Cease, and I do think you're selling a little low on him because I think he's probably better than what the numbers have said, and I don't think I would be now at this point surprised if they were to move him. I think there's maybe little pockets of the roster that you can find some salary in if you can move prospects with those guys. Like if you give up decent players to shed some salary, like if the Padres were to do something with, who knows, Wandy Peralta, like you can give up good players to get off that salary if you need to do that to add salary elsewhere. The guys like Dylan Cease and Jake Cronenworth, who are making big money this season, I think at this point have kind of established themselves as too integral to the Padres to make those moves. So I would be surprised if that were to happen, but I guess never shocked with someone like AJ Preller running things, because we've seen him kind of reshuffle everything at the trade deadline multiple times before. That being said, the Padres have established a pretty good core and a pretty good pathway to what a successful team could look like down the stretch and into October. And the way it works is just some of the bigger money guys that are maybe tradable assets are too important to where that's headed, to the point where I think I would be surprised if they were to move on from them.
Okay, it is July 22nd. Again, we mentioned the Padres are 10 games over 500. We are at the 100 game mark of this season. It's taken me this long to ask you this question, AJ, and you've been kind enough to join me every single week, really, since the start of the season. Where would the Padres be in 2025 without Xander Bogaerts?
Xander Bogaerts at this point has been pretty solid. He's been so good defensively throughout. But then you look at his numbers, and I think his OPS is up to 730, 740, that area. If you get that kind of offensive production from a shortstop who's been as good defensively as he has been, that's a really, really good and useful player. And so if people want to view Xander Bogaerts' contributions through the lens of his contract, which I think is a generally fair thing to do just because of the questions you have about salary right now and how much flexibility the Padres have at the trade deadline, it's completely fair to do that. But he's not going to live up to that number because we kind of already know that number is more than what Xander Bogaerts is going to be worth on a yearly basis moving forward as he declines past his prime. Right now, he's a wholly useful player. He's a completely, because of how good he is defensively, because of the position he plays, and because of what he can do at the plate and what he's kind of looked like in the last month or two, he could be the driving force behind making this offense as deep as the Padres want it to be. If Xander Bogaerts is hitting like he is now down the stretch, like, and then you add that bat in the number 8 spot, all of a sudden you're getting into kind of shades of what the 2024 offense was and why it was so productive. So, I mean, I think that it's a credit to Xander Bogaerts that his defense has been as good as it's been, because he was so bad offensively for that large stretch of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that it's a credit to him for working through some of those struggles. And contrary to what everyone with the Padres wants to say, it wasn't just him hitting into bad luck. He was really struggling for a long time. I think those numbers started to turn before the actual results started to turn. He was starting to hit and he was starting to do some better things at the plate, and you could see that before the numbers started to turn. But he worked through that slump, which was one of the worst slumps of his career, amid a down stretch for the Padres offense. And the fact that he was as consistent as he was defensively and consistent as he was in working through that slump is a huge thing for this team, especially because of kind of how well respected he is in that Padres clubhouse.
Mm-hmm. He's a very, very easy person to root for. And the way he handled things during his struggles, that was something. All right. Unless I missed something, Michael King is not on this trip, right? He first-time dad, he and his wife, they just had a baby. So he's not on the trip.
Good for him. He is at home being a dad. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
So that's a huge deal. Did Michael King, did Mike Schultz offer any update on to? I imagine he's resuming his throwing program at Petco Park, or what's going on with him?
Yes, he's throwing at Petco Park. He's throwing I think aggressive catch. I don't know how many times he's been back off the bullpen mound. I imagine that bullpen schedule was slightly interrupted by having a baby, as well it should be.
Yes.
But it is also easy enough for him to drop it at Petco Park and throw baseball 25, 30 times and then head back to being a dad. So I don't know the specifics of what Michael King is doing, but he is still playing catch. And I don't know where he is in that bullpen progression, but I imagine the next step will be facing hitters at some point soon.
Okay, that's great. Now, two starts so far from you, Darvish. What's been the early feedback on his first 2 starts?
I think it's been solid. And I think the fact that he kind of came back earlier than he maybe some other guys would have, because he didn't want to throw those rehabs. He wasn't completely built up to being a regular starting pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He's been throwing all of his pitches and he seems to feel fine as a result. Throwing all of his pitches, I think there were certain pitches like the slider and the sweeper that maybe affected his elbow more, while he was trying to recover from it. And the fact that he's been able to throw those pitches and hasn't felt anything is a huge sign of a positive sign. I'm not going to read too much into the early results, because he hadn't pitched in a game really all season, aside from that one rehab start in Las Vegas. So these are his first game action of the year, facing actual hitters. I think he's been fine. I don't know that, if the Padres want him to be the Yu Darvish that he was in the NLDS last year, that might be a tall ask, because that was really, really good. He was really good down the stretch. But I think they can still kind of rely on him to be a guy that they can turn to in a playoff game. And they would seem to have, if Michael King can come back healthy, 4 of those guys in their starting rotation, which is what you need in a playoff series. That
would be quite something. Now, you were not in Washington, correct, when he had his last start, right?
I was not.
You joined. Okay,
I thought he had some STFC game that night.
Oh, really? Oh, wait.
Yeah,
hold that thought. I'm going to ask you about STFC in a second. But I thought Darvish had some very candid thoughts to Kevin Acee of the UT about wondering if he was ever going to go ahead and pitch again this year. No, not this year. Pitch again. Period. He's dealt with a lot with the injuries, some personal stuff too. How much do you think the Padres consider that when wondering, do we go for it this year? If you think you're without Darvish, you're not going to have Michael King for quite some time. I mean, that's pretty impactful on your rotation.
I think they basically just let Yu Darvish run his own recovery.
Okay.
And if Yu Darvish had gotten to the point where his elbow wasn't recovering like it started to, and he informed the Padres of that, he has earned the Padres' trust enough, and the Padres have earned his trust. It's a really good relationship between player and manager and coaching staff and training staff and front office. The Padres and Darvish are really in sync. So if Darvish had gotten to that point where his elbow wasn't there, I think the Padres would have been okay with that, because they would have understood this is a pitcher dealing with an injury. That being said, like, he's clearly here now. He clearly got back, and I think they're willing to make those plans around him. Who knows, like, what the trade deadline would have looked like differently. I think the fact that the rotation seems to have some stability, at least right now, probably gives the Padres more chips to push into the back end of the lineup basket. But maybe it looks different if something happens differently in the rotation.
Okay, good enough. All right. I do have to ask you a question about STFC and the experience, the entire beer experience. You went there but before I do, okay, again, 9 days away. You and I will hopefully we'll talk. Hopefully you're going to have time to talk to me next Tuesday when the Padres are back versus the Mets, because we are right up against it. You're going to have your phone on. You're going to have notifications on in case something happens. If you have to go, you have to go, because there's breaking news. Are there names that you're hearing more than others as we get closer to that deadline? And are there names that we've heard that you're going to go ahead and say, you know what, that makes zero sense, not happening?
Not really. I do think some of, like, the more lofty trade targets that we've talked about, like Jaron Duran, it just seems like the Padres wouldn't have enough to give up, and that the Red Sox wouldn't be willing to part with him for a significant package. I think there's, like, some of the outfielders that have been on the trade block, or like, won't they be traded, are probably who some of the targets are. We've talked about, like, Taylor Ward, Jesus Sanchez, and you're in Miami. Like, those are just guys in the industry that are like, teams that need outfielders. These are some of the maybe more affordable or gettable options. We'll see. I think all of the above would help the Padres, given kind of what they're getting from the number 8 and 9 spots in their lineup.
Okay, good deal. Okay, tell me about your SDFC experience. Did you try a new beer as well when you were at Snapdragon? There's a lot of beer, a lot of great beer selections.
I had several beers. I don't think I tried a new beer, but like, it's all great San Diego beer.
Yes.
So I had several of those. I think I had Pizza Port. I had a 394.
Got you.
We had a nice little tailgate right off the trolley.
Cool. Okay.
The grassy area. Some people I know from watching Liverpool games set up a tailgate out there by the trolley, and it was a blast of a time. Played some lawn games, drank some beers there, drank some beers at the game, had a blast at the game. The game ended 1-1, but there was a lot of action, so it was really, really fun. Had a great experience, and who knows when I'll be back, because the Padres' schedule is pretty intense down the stretch, and I'm looking forward to it.
You're going to be a fun October in San Diego. Busy. Will you be? I hope. Oh my gosh, I hope so. I hope you're right. Let's see. Will you be in St. Louis? Yes. Will you be in St. Louis?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. If you're there, if you see our friend Mark Sweeney, make sure you say hi. By the way, I was going to mention this to start the show. Yesterday, I saw the news that Malcolm Jamal Warner had died. He passed. He drowned in Costa Rica. Can I just say, I don't know if you were a big Cosby Show fan when you were growing up. That was the show. I love that show. I didn't watch it. I watch all the reruns. I love that show. I love Theo Huxtable. That one just crushed me. I just had that on my notes for some reason. I want to make sure I mention that before we wrap this thing up. What were your shows? What did you watch? What sitcoms did you watch when you were a kid?
I watched sports.
You watched sports? You didn't watch sitcoms?
Cosby Show was never one of mine. I guess I watched like Thursday nights when I was growing up was The Office, Parks and Rec, and 30 Rock. Those were my favorites.
Wait, The Office? I've not seen one episode of The Office.
The Office is fine.
Zero.
I would probably rank it third among those three shows. I wouldn't say it's like overrated. Like, I think like it maybe gets too much pub. Like, I 30 Rock and Parks and Rec are, I think, both funnier shows. Office has a little more cultural clout because everyone has seen it. And then I guess like when I was a younger kid, I don't know, I watched Fresh Prince. What else? Full House. But
me too. Did you watch the reboot?
I never watched the reboot. No,
it's not very good. They brought everyone back except for what's her name? Because she went to prison. Forgot her name. Becky. They didn't bring Becky. Well, they brought her. Did they bring her back? No, they kind of brought her back. Anyways, I'm getting way off topic. I'm sorry. My sitcoms were WKRP in Cincinnati, Three's Company, and then I like the Cosby Show. So, anyways, that got me down a whole different rabbit hole yesterday when that news came. All right, AJ. Last thing, you're in Miami right now. Cuban food. What's your go-to? Do you get plantains, beans and rice? What do you find out there?
I do not have a single second while I'm here to actually go out and eat food. I'm not kidding. I flew in on a red eye yesterday morning and slept all day until I went to the ballpark. Last night I ordered tacos from Uber Eats.
Nice.
It's called Koyo Taco, and they were very good. But that's just what I needed. And then I passed out, and then I came on with you, and now I'm heading to the ballpark again, and I'm flying out after the day game tomorrow. So
oh my goodness,
I will get my my free time to spend in St. Louis, which is maybe not the city I want to have the most free time in.
No,
like,
comparatively
speaking. I think I would rather have had 4 games in Miami with time with a couple mornings, but
St. Louis is the worst city I've ever gone. I'm sure the people there are very, very nice, but as far as like hanging out and no, absolutely, I will.
It's not that bad. There's a couple good places to eat. There's some decent coffee. It's not what I would rank number 1 on my National League cities ranking. I would have to probably not rank it very high, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. All right. Is AJ Preller on this trip? On his phone?
I did see him yesterday.
Oh, really? Floppy hat on his cell phone. I'll just
don't think there was a floppy hat, but it was an indoor game, so he's
okay.
Floppy hat not as important.
That's an upset, but usually I think he also wears it for disguise, not just because he wants to go ahead and be shielded from the sun. I did chat with someone yesterday who's been around the team who thinks that something's going to happen soon. So I want you to get some good sleep, AJ Caswell. I'm not telling you right now to go ahead and sleep,
August 1st is when
August
I'll get
1st.
my good sleep.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully have a great week, and hopefully we get a chance to talk next week, and the Padres have made some moves. Just, let's go.
That'd be nice.
Let's go. Thanks, AJ. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Marty.
All right, that was AJ Cassavell from MLB.com. He is in Miami. He will be in St. Louis. You want to go ahead and keep following his work at Padres.com and on Twitter at AJ Cassavell. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. We are at the 100 mark of the season. The Padres are 55-45. And again, someone says that they think that a move could be coming soon. I hope so. I'd much rather pull the trigger than keep talking about this for the next week. All right, we're brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Walks are good, but I'm a fucking hitter, dude. Like, I want to hit, and like it's annoying when you are in the box and like your ability is hitting. Like, that's the thing I'm best at in this game. So
you robbed your share of home runs. What did it feel to have someone go ahead and rob you of one?
It's part of the game. There's this saying in Spanish, el que hierro mata, hierro muere. It's like, I don't know how to really translate it in English, but it's part of the game, and man, they play good defense, and that's what happens.
I know you made a case earlier for all 4 of your bullpen arms to be...
Are you going to ask me about the 4 horsemen?
I am.
Okay. On display tonight. I still can't name them, but they're Estrada, Morihone, Adam.